Hi there, Jan. So, our client is a startup with the ability to deliver broadband internet to commercial airlines. The company owns a patent on the necessary technology. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they want to enter the market and have asked us to evaluate certain issues. First, in order to estimate the possibilities of the business, they want to know how or more about the size of the market. So they want revenues that can be generated in the entire onboard internet market in long and mid-distance flights.
Mm-hmm.
So that's flights with about 3 to 5 hours in duration.
Okay. Okay, I think the question is pretty clear. So, well, in order to do the first step and calculate the market size and revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have I think there are two major steps. So we need to determine who are our customers and how many. And then the second point, how much are they willing to pay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just as a general way.
Okay.
And so customers first. And right now, and then I need your help here. I
Sure.
see two different options. So who are our customers? Either it's or the airlines
Mm-hmm.
who buy our service and then provide it to all the customers, or we sell it directly to our end customers. How is it going to work?
Well, that's a good point. Well, of course, they're gonna sell the service to the airlines, right?
Uh-huh.
But of course, the airlines will take a look at how many of their customers will actually use the service, right? So answering your question, we're gonna sell it to the airlines, and the airlines will resell it to the customers. But that's
Okay.
not really relevant here. Go on.
Okay. Okay. So I mean the thing we have to the final issue we have to address and have to figure out is so how many airplane travelers are willing to use the servers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe as a percentage of all travelers we have. So do we know the amount of plane travelers, let's say per year?
Not really. How would you figure that out?
Okay.
You can take some time to think
Yeah,
about
let
it
me-
and
And just think of
think
a
of a
way.
structure, if you will.
Okay, I mean there are two ways. We have the demand and the supply side driven approach. I don't really know the demand. I think it's easier to go ahead with the supply side. So based on the number of available flights in the world. So that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking about. And well, as a first step, I would just estimate the number of airlines we have, and I would do
Okay.
that based on countries. And what I think is that on average, I think in every developed or emerging country, there's one big airline that offers
Mhm.
these kind of long distance midterm flights, and then
Okay.
we kind of through that we can calculate how many planes there are, and then we know we have to figure out how long is a plane going to fly. And
Okay.
so then we don't know. Finally, we should know how many flights there are, or how many flights a plane does, and together, so we know how many flights do we have
Mm-hmm.
per airplane, and then how many airplanes are there, how many airlines are there in the world. We kind of know the entire number of flights.
Okay. So let me get this again. You want to have how many airplanes there are per airline and how many flights each airplane can have.
Mhm.
And then you want to have the total number of flights in the world.
Yes, that's what we want to have, the number of
Okay.
flights, because then we apply some kind of number of customers to each flight.
Okay.
Let's say, I don't know, each plane is roughly 200 people, and then we know the amount of customers for
Okay.
an amount of travelers.
So let me help you out just to make things easier. Assume we have like 3,000 airplanes in the world.
Okay.
And for these kinds of flights, long and mid distance flights, and each plane has about, like, can have 2,000 flights per year.
Okay. Okay, great. So
Approximation.
that saves me a lot of assumptions if we already have those numbers. So 3,000 airplanes and 2,000 flights per plane
Per year.
per year. Okay. So we're just talking about years here. And okay, I mean, if we multiply both, we get what you want, and that's the total flights per year in the entire boat. And this is 3,000 times 2,000, and this gives us 6 million. So 6 million flights per year.
That's
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Well, as I already mentioned quickly, I mean, now we have to determine how many people on average are on one flight, one plane.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if I'm thinking of different kinds of planes, and then especially long distance flights, they use usually pretty big planes,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe something between 400 and 200 seats, and I would maybe there are planes with 400, 300, and 200. Do we know something about the distribution here?
That's a good way to segment like the capacity of the airplanes. Let's also simplify this here and think of 200 seats on average per airplane, right?
Okay, so then we have 6 million flights and 200 customers per flight,
Mm-hmm.
so 1.2 billion flyers every year. So that's the amount of customers we have.
Okay. Well, what is that exactly? That's not the number of customers we have, right? That's the number of offered seats.
Okay, and I see
Yeah,
what
what
you're
I
getting
mean,
at.
yeah.
They're not all used.
What are you missing? Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
We should deduct the empty seats. So usually,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many it is. I mean, I would assume a low number because the long-term flights are usually overbooked, and as they're expensive, I think the airlines try to pack them as full as they can. So that's, I don't know, 10%.
Now, up to this point, I enjoyed the candidate structure. He gave a general approach at the beginning and filled it with numbers. Because it's a long way to derive the number of flights, I gave him like some information about the number of planes so that he quickly can get the number of flights. Now, here the candidate has to make assumptions by himself and obviously didn't know exactly the percentage of seats that would be empty in an airplane on average. Now, he started with a roughly idea based on his previous knowledge. That's a good idea, but it's not always true. So as you saw, he said 10% only empty seats, which is not true. Now, one way to refine this first estimate is to segment the number of seats or whatever it is in different categories. So one possible approach to that would be, say there are planes that are full and planes that are not full, maybe half the capacity. If you say that half the planes are always full, that's 150% of 100%. And if you say half the planes are not full and they are full to half the capacity, so if you average those two, you're going to have 75% of occupancy. So by segmenting what you don't know into different segments helps you to get a more precise result. Well, actually it's more than that, free, so it's about 25% not used.
Okay.
So a fourth.
Okay, so I mean, instead of 1.2 million flyers, which is actually the number of offered seats,
Mm-hmm.
we have to deduct 25%. And so 25% is 300 million.
Mm-hmm.
and 1.2 billion minus 300 million is 900 million. So that's that's the amount of flyers every year in the world, which seems a
Okay.
lot.
Now what?
Okay. Well, before I go on thinking about how many of them will actually use our service, I think I need to get some information about the prices and how are they going to influence
Mm-hmm.
the final number of users.
So price elasticity, right?
Yeah, I mean, if that would be a good thing. I mean, because they would influence it if airlines track who use the internet and then charge them proportionally, or if customers book the ticket and then at the same point book the internet with it. So say, okay, I want to use internet. I pay, I don't know, $5 more, and then they have that with it. But on the other hand, I mean, it would not really influence the entire thing or the entire usage if it's on a flat rate basis for all flyers. So if we sell the internet to the airline and then they provide it to all
users.
Yeah, to all customers, no matter if they use it or not, it doesn't matter, and then they kind of split the costs evenly to all users as well.
Okay, I see it.
Um,
Okay, so let's say the airlines are planning to charge the passenger only if they use the service. So that will be option number 1
okay.
that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna share with you a research we did, showing what's the price willingness of our potential customers.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check it out. What
Okay.
can you conclude out of it?
So on the one hand, we see the percentage of customers we would attract at given prices.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I think, I mean, as I assume we could calculate some kind of imaginary revenues here and some optimal price. I mean, the different combinations we have.
Mm-hmm.
So 30% at $5.
What do you mean 30%? Like,
Okay, I mean, if we have imaginary 100 travelers,
okay,
30 would pay 5.
okay,
And well, then if you multiply those 5 times 30, we have $150 of
right.
revenue, and then we can do that for all the other numbers as well. So 25 users times $10 is 250. So at this point, this is, compared to the first one, this is already the better choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the others, let me just calculate it. So 20 times 15 is 300. Then 10 times 20 is 200, and 5 times, what was this, 25 is 125. Okay, so the best option would be the third one, charging a price of 15.
Okay.
Because given the number of users, then this would give us the highest revenue.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the price you
Okay.
would.
So let's say we charge 15. That would be my recommendation. So is this what we receive directly, or do we have to deduct something? I don't know, because the airline also wants.
Well,
Sure.
of course, they're offering this service also to make some money on it. Of course, they want also to offer nice things to their customers, but assume that we get those $15 just to simplify. So assume the margin of the airline is 0.
Okay.
So what's the market for us for the startup
Okay.
that offers the internet service?
Okay, we said we want $15 and we get 20% or 20% of flyers are going to use it. So, and remember from before we had 900 million flying people, plane travelers, and passengers exactly, and then 20% of those 900 million passengers.
180?
180, yes.
Okay, correct.
Thanks. And okay, now those 180 million pay $15, and then we have to multiply 180 times 15, and 180 times 15 is 2,700 million, so 2.7 billion dollar.
Correct.
Is the market size.
Okay, so well, the calculation you did is correct, but there is one issue there. You assume that all the 900 million flyers are in our market, like potential customers.
Yeah.
Do you think that everybody can use internet?
Okay, of course not. I don't know. They have to have I mean, first of all, they have to have a laptop to use it.
Yeah. So who usually has one, or who usually has or is interested in using internet on an airplane?
Okay.
Or could be willing to use it.
Okay. I mean, we could go ahead and think of again a certain percentage, and maybe apply the usage rate we have also on Earth. So, and divide it into different age groups. So let's say 80% of young children use computers, use internet, 70% of mid-age people, and 40% of old people. That would be one way.
That's one approach. Can you think of any other approaches? Think of the potential customers.
Okay, thinking of where they come from, maybe, because again, if we have a long distance flight or a flight in the United States or Europe, most of the people have a computer and use it and have internet. But then again, if we look into other countries, the usage rate might be lower, and thus less people need internet there.
Okay, that makes sense also, but let's to simplify again, think of people in airplanes. How can you segment or categorize people in a plane?
Okay,
classes of people are there.
I mean, we could use first, business, and economy class. That's what they do. That's how they segment it in planes.
I actually, I don't know if you read it, but in the information I shared with you about the pricing per penetration per price, it's actually relative to the business passengers. So I don't think you saw that.
Oh, okay. No.
So let me show you how many people are business travelers in an airplane. Just share with you table number 1.
Oh, okay.
What can you?
Let me have a look at this.
Can you conclude out of it?
Okay, yeah. So the usage is different. It depends on kind of if they're in first or economy class. And I mean, we have 3 things here. The load factor, I think we already included that in our previous calculations. So we can leave that out. And then the other 2 numbers, okay, I mean, as I see it, 10% of all the seats are first class. And all of them are potential customers, because only business travelers use our product, is what I can read there. and well, all users in the business class are.
Well, of course that's a simplification. There will be some tourists or ordinary travelers that would use the service, but since it's thought to be used by business travelers, so that's just a simplification that we assume here, and that's how we build this penetration by price chart that we just saw. So assume it's only business travelers. Yeah. So go on.
Okay.
Sorry.
So in the 10%, all are potential users.
Business travelers. Yeah.
Business travelers. That's all the
correct.
In the first class, and then the other 9% in the economy class. From those 90%, 30% are potential customers. So we have 30% of 90%, and so 10% of 90 is 9, and 30 will be 2 times 9, so 27% is, 27% of the other group are potential customers. So overall we have 10% that are coming from the first class and 27% coming from the economy class. So overall it's 37%.
Okay. So how much is that?
Okay. Now, going back to our last calculations where we said, 2.7 billion are our customers, and this is when we had all flyers included. However, we know that it's only 37%. So it's 37% of 2.7 billion and
dollars, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And just give me a moment to keep it like this. 2.7, 30. Okay. Okay. It gives us a pretty even number. Finally, so we have $1 billion. $1 billion.
$1 billion because only out of the 2.7 billion that you calculated before, only 37% are actually potential customers for our service, right? Okay, so let's switch gears and try to analyze what would be the break-even point of this new service. So what I want to know now is how many customers would we need to get to the break-even point?